Hello, listeners, and welcome to this episode of the Governors for Schools podcast. My name is Charles.Western, Senior Partnerships Team Manager here at Governors for Schools, and I'm delighted to be speaking with you on today's podcast. In today's podcast, we will be joined by one of our valued university partners as we discuss the creation of a school governor network, the reasons why universities, or indeed other organisations, may wish to launch a school governor initiative, and the challenges and successes that are faced along the way. It's also incredibly fitting that we're talking about the value of volunteering as a school governor today. And that is because today is the 13th of February 2025, which is National School Governors Awareness Day. Although this podcast will be released at a later date, we'd like to take this opportunity to celebrate all the committed volunteers that are placed on school governing boards. Hopefully, we'll also encourage our listeners today to engage in a school governor network initiative or indeed apply as a school governor. That's enough from me for now. I'm now going to pass over to our two other speakers to introduce themselves. Firstly, over to my colleague, Harriet.
Hello everyone, I'm Harriet Bowen and I'm one of the partnership managers at Governors for Schools, and I'm really excited to be part of this podcast.
Thank you, Harriet. Now over to our guest for today, Josie from the University of Southampton.
Hello, I'm Josie Love-Murelli and I chair the School Governor Network at our university, the University of Southampton, and I'm also a proud school governor volunteer.
Thank you. Great to have you with us today. So, before we get started, I think it's useful to give some listeners who might be less involved in school governance a quick run through of sort of what that involves. What is school governance? Harriet, can you give us a bit of a brief outline of what a school governor does, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So school governors are volunteers who volunteer their time, their experience, their skills, their opinions to a local school. It's very much a strategic role rather than an operational role. So you don't get involved with the day-to-day running of the school, but you're there to kind of support the strategic plan, oversee the budget, and also hold senior leaders to account at that school.
Thanks, Harriet. So if you'd like to find out more about the responsibilities of a school governor or indeed who governors for schools are, please do head over to our website. There's a whole range of reading materials that you can get stuck into to find out a little bit more. But to sort of get more into the topic for today, I want to sort of explore why Southampton got involved in a governor initiative in the first place. What was the draw there for the university, Josie?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We had heard about similar partnerships at other universities, and the difference that had made. So that had been on my mind for quite a while. And then out of the blue, we got an email from Governors for Schools asking about governors within our community and whether or not we might be interested in a partnership. And I think it was just perfect timing, because I think at that point we were looking at how can we do more for the community that our university is in. How can we, as the largest employer, within our community, use our resource and expertise to improve the situation for young people? And also, as a university, how can we be delivering on our widening participation priorities? So it was perfect timing when we got the email, and it led to lots of conversations about how best to take that forward. From my side, I work in the alumni office. So not only am I one of the employees of this big organisation, but I also work with 285,000 alumni, many of whom stay in the local region and also are, looking for ways to give back. So it seemed like the best way forward might be for us to work together across the organisation with our widening participation team, with myself, with our comms colleagues, and figure out how a network and an initiative might be able to support those multiple priorities, but also target those multiple audiences as well.
Amazing, great, thank you. I suppose that initial email that came from you, Harriet.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah.
Fab. So we at Governors for Schools do partner with lots of universities across England and Wales, and each one has its own different ways of working or ways that they sort of want to set up the partnership in the first instance. So it's quite a back and forth and a conversation on how that happens. how does that how did it work in this instance for you, Harriet, and sort of the way that we worked this out, I suppose?
Yeah, I think we originally set up a meeting on Teams, didn't we, Josie? Just to talk through how this could work, what the priorities were for the university, and how that could align with Governors for Schools. And it definitely was the right place, the right time. Everything seemed to fit very, very nicely. So we had a conversation about setting up an initial webinar to kind of launch the partnership. That was something that we really wanted to do with the University of Southampton, and something that we do with a number of our other partners. And I think our first one was in February 2024, so about a year ago now, which is absolutely crazy to think. And then it was speaking with Josie about all the possible avenues for spreading the word within the university network, which obviously is so vast. And Josie had some amazing links with the communications team at the university, and was able to kind of use that to really get that launch off to a successful start.
Yeah, that's right. It was National School Governors Awareness Day last year, I believe, that we did the first webinars. So it's been a year, which is fantastic. And I remember thinking at the time, we already know that there are a number of people who are school governors already. And through the conversations that we had about doing the webinars, it became apparent that actually there had previously been a school governor network, which had existed sort of well before this campaign, and unfortunately dried up a little bit during COVID. But it seemed like the perfect opportunity to explore whether or not we could then bring that back as well. And as we recruit new governors, give them that additional network for support, and also as a really nice extra bit of incentive to become a school governor off the back of our initiative.
Definitely. It worked quite nicely, didn't it? Because some of those people who came forward to say, I'm already a school governor, they then joined us for the event as guest speakers and spoke a little bit about their story and their experience. So it all worked together very nicely.
Yeah, and I think since then that's been such a key part of our school governor activity, has been having those people who are already doing it and able to testify to the life-changing experience it really is to be a school governor. I've now taken part in one of those as well, so I know that it's a really lovely opportunity to share your experience, but I also know that our audiences have responded so well to being able to speak to someone who's doing it already and ask those key questions. Even today we've got a story about one of our school governors who was recruited through one of the webinars going out across our university channels. So it's really nice to see the kind of full circle that we've gone on this year, and continue to go back to those people who we know are already doing this and working day in, day out to support local schools, and get them to share their excitement and passion with our prospective school governors too.
Definitely. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is quite interesting. I think we see it quite often with university partners and other partners, where there's been some engagement with school governor initiatives previously, but because of competing priorities, particularly in the higher education sector, or staff coming and going, it's dropped out. And I think that actually being able to take stock and look at what's happened previously, and then go, oh right, well we've actually got existing school governors that could form a network, or school governors are one of the largest volunteer groups in England and Wales, so everywhere is going to have, well, every large employer is going to have some school governors already in their workforce. So why not sort of lean on that a little bit to help take off the initiative and the network. So we've got sort of the drive to recruit that we do with you with the University of Southampton. But then we've also got sort of the ongoing support of the school governor network itself. And I think that's something that is quite often not forgotten about, but is sort of secondary, because you need the recruits in the first instance. How does the actual network work? How do you communicate? What goes on there?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think the feeling was that a network was important, because not only do we want our school governor community to be made up of people recruited through our partnership, but we also want to support people who are already school governors, so that they can do more, feel more equipped, feel more confident. And actually what's happened is we've ended up with a really nice mix of people who are school governors, off their own initiative, who are part of the network. But we also have people who have come directly through the webinars, some of whom aren't yet school governors but are exploring it, and the network's also helping get them over the line. And I'm really delighted to say that our network also includes students. So we've been able to encourage some of our students to become school governors too through the initiative, which, given some of the shortages and disparities in sort of who becomes a school governor, is a really fantastic thing to be able to say. So with the network, we have a Teams channel. So we are a staff network at the moment, but I would really like to expand that beyond our staff to include our alumni as well. But we have a Teams channel within our organisation. And we also have a SharePoint, so that is regularly updated with campaigns and news and network updates. It does take a bit of work, and I think it's definitely got to be a bit of a passion project. I'm very, very lucky that volunteering fits within my job remit. So it's been quite straightforward for me to be able to work on this as a priority. And my colleague Adrian, who is my co-chair, works in our widening participation team. So he's also, got the drive and the passion, and can recognise the importance of that network for our widening participation priorities. So the network is an opportunity for people to post questions that they might have. I definitely see people sharing resources too, which is fantastic. And then we also organise networking lunches. So we're having our second one in about a month. And then we're inviting external speakers in to hear about different training and support and resources available. We did do a network survey. So once we launched the network, we asked colleagues to tell us what they wanted, what days they might be in, what kind of support they were looking for, how that network could really work for them. And then we sort of worked backwards from there and identified, what it was that our network members were looking for, so that we could create something really meaningful that really was sort of meeting the needs of our members. And I'm delighted to say we have about 40 people in our Teams channel. Every time we do a recruitment campaign, that number goes up as well. And I know that we have more school governors than that across our community. So we're still aiming to get the word out and continue to recruit people to the network. But yeah, in a nutshell, being member driven, a membership survey, understanding why people would join a network, and then regular communications, which are then supporting those priorities and needs. And that's worked really well for us.
I think that's fantastic. I think especially the space in that network for people to ask questions, because when you first become a school governor, it can be quite daunting. There's a lot to learn. I always say that education has a language of its own with all the acronyms, etc. So I think that must be a huge advantage to everybody within that network. A lot of people that become a school governor are completely new to it. They don't necessarily have to work in education. They might not be parents or carers themselves. And this is their first go at dipping their toe into the world of schools and trusts. So I think that must be an incredible support for all of those people.
Yeah, I mean, even I've made use of it. It's been invaluable, really. I only became a governor last May, so I'm quite new to this too. And knowing that when you get a question like, would you like to chair a committee, you can reach out to somebody who already does that and have a whole conversation with them about, is that a good idea? How much work will that be? What am I signing up to? Has just been completely invaluable. So I've made real use of it that way. One of our members put together a helpful acronyms sheet, which they then shared with the network as well. So precisely what you're talking about. But I know that people have then also used the network as an opportunity to bring forward colleagues who are thinking about being a school governor but not completely sure. And I got an email just last week from somebody who was thinking about it, came to one of our network lunches and then said, you know what, I've gone and taken the plunge and I've become a school governor too. So it's so helpful. And I say that as both the chair but also as a governor who's benefited from our membership.
Fantastic.
That's great. Really great to hear. I suppose this is the Governors for Schools podcast. I will say that we do have our mail outs that we do to our university partners, and on our website there's various resources that are in place not just for that recruitment drive with our partner organisations like universities, but are also in place to support those networks when they are formed. So we do host regular webinars and have access to various blog posts that can really help existing governors. And I think that's something that obviously is beneficial to University of Southampton and has been beneficial to lots of our other partners. So I would encourage our listeners to have a look around on our website and find those materials to take a look at. I'm going to jump back to something we talked about before in terms of the creation or the school governor initiative starting. You mentioned, Josie, it's aligning with widening participation and those sort of themes. Are you starting to see the sort of impact stats that you want to see through taking part in a school governor initiative at the university? And sort of, are you seeing the value yet? Is what I'm wanting to get at.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure that colleagues at other universities will be aware that there's a huge push on a civic agenda, and the responsibility of universities to contribute to the local area, skills development, economy, etc. And so a huge driver for us getting involved in the School Governor Initiative was with our civic agenda in mind. And it's just been fantastic to see the number of people sign up for the webinars, and then also to become school governors just go up and up and up. I think we're at over 40 people have now been placed or something along those lines from across our alumni, our staff and our students, which is just tremendous. We also have a volunteering target for the university. So colleagues at other universities will also have volunteering programs, and it's been so helpful to be able to track not only a really tangible civic contribution to our volunteering targets and objectives, but also see the number of hours that it generates. I think it's about 6.5 hours a month per school governor
On average, yeah.
over 4 years. So it's a big chunk of hours towards your volunteering target if as a university you're working that way. But even if you're not, having an opportunity for your staff and your alumni to really, really get involved and get behind that civic agenda and that civic priorities, just a fantastic reason to do it. We've had 3 sets of webinars now, and we're working on our 4th. And we certainly haven't noticed a drop off in terms of people wanting to attend. The audiences that join are highly engaged. They stay on for the whole webinar, ask lots and lots and lots of questions. And I know off the back of all of them, we've had applications, which is fantastic. I go out into the community. In fact, on my own governing board, I have alumni who say to me, Josie, you're running another governor initiative. I'm already a school governor, but it's really great to see my university really cares and is actually taking an interest in local schools. So it's been wonderful to kind of hear those things when I meet our alumni out in the community, that they see this and say, finally, the university that's like it's taking an interest in my city, which is, precisely what we want from our volunteering program and from our alumni communications.
Over the first 3 webinars that we've hosted with your university, we've had over 600 registrations in total, which just shows that the word is out there. People are engaged. People want to find out more. And we always say in the webinar, don't we, that it's good to learn and listen and gain that awareness of what school governance is. Some people apply straight away and some people might not, because it might not be the right time. But we've planted the seed, and then hopefully they will then consider taking on the volunteering role. And you're absolutely right. We've had just under 40 people who are already placed and in governor roles from people who have listened to those webinars, which is a fantastic number. And we're really pleased and happy and thankful for our partnership with you.
Oh, it's fantastic to hear, and I'm excited about the next round of webinars too, to see what happens next. I should also say I now regularly get emails from alumni or friends of staff who work in the schools who said, oh, we heard that Southampton University is sort of really pushing and encouraging its staff and alumni to become school governors. So is there any way you can help us with our vacancies, or how can we be involved more? And of course, we always send them over to Governors for Schools. But it's just been wonderful to see that ripple effect. And I think that's precisely what can come out of the partnership. It can feel at the start like, what will the difference be? And, in terms of those KPIs, it's been fantastic to see people register and become school governors and get those hours, but actually that sort of broader benefit of knowing that people across the community are hearing about what you're doing, are interested, and schools are kind of actively participating and getting in touch with the university to ask, how more can we support them. I mean, that's just such a fantastic place to put your institution or your organisation, whatever kind of organisation that might be.
And it's not just Southampton or Hampshire that you're impacting through this partnership, and particularly with your alumni. They are based all over the country, so you are also making impact on other places across the country, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we've tried a couple of different things. So for the first webinars, we tried very much people within Hampshire, and then we opened that right up. And then this time we'll be opening up again. And it's just been wonderful. Every time we get a stats report, and we can see people really, far away in London, up in the north, who are getting signed up to be school governors too. So it's just been wonderful to see that ripple effect and see people all across the country be so interested. I also think it's quite hard as a university when you're working with alumni sometimes to find volunteering opportunities that feel truly meaningful and are also accessible for people who are working all the time and have great skills to offer but can't come down to campus to maybe meet with your students. So Governors for Schools have given us such a great opportunity to present our alumni with a whole other kind of volunteering that you can do around your job and wherever you are in the UK. So it's been really fantastic to be able to share that with our alumni and see the response that we've had.
That's excellent. Really, really great to hear. Yeah, it comes down to planting that seed and that initial point. And I literally wrote that down and then you said it, Harriet. You can see how much we talk about that at Governors for Schools. To go a bit more into that alumni side of the partnership, it's interesting, isn't it? Because they're quite often more early careers individuals, potentially more young governors being engaged through that, and taking that further afield than just Southampton. And that's something that we're really seeing is through engaging alumni, we can really, there's a different message when you're speaking to them, I suppose, in terms of why they'd want to get involved, because it might not necessarily be about the Southampton community, but it's more about your skill sets and skills-based volunteering, which is a really interesting topic to explore and probably a topic for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see the response. I think our webinars are overwhelmingly alumni, but of course the response from our staff has been fantastic too. And yeah, in terms of how you sell that to alumni, I definitely think our alumni appreciate it when we've included stories and profiles and testimonials from other alumni. I think that's always gone down really well, so they can see. I think in our first webinar we had somebody who's like an A&E doctor, under 30, and also a kind of public health campaigner, and he was able to say, well, I'm also a school governor. So seeing somebody who can do it and balance all of these incredible demands and do it so well has been really, really helpful for that audience to see. But definitely leading on skills. To be honest, with our staff, we do the same thing, because there are such tremendous skills bases across our staff and our alumni. It just makes sense to say to people, whether you have the skills or you're looking to develop them, this is the best opportunity for you to be able to do that while giving back and making a difference.
Definitely. I like how it's talked a bit about sort of the wider, bigger picture and then brought it down to individuals and case studies and testimonials. And I think that's another thing that the network can really help with, is when you're wanting to just find some really, really nice pockets of case studies to shout about, and then to go out there to further the recruitment. And we do see that with other partners as well. Have you done any case studies at the University of Southampton?
Yeah, so I mean, every single communication we've sent out involves a testimonial or a case study. Every single webinar features 2 or 3 different people who are already school governors. And for National School Governors Awareness Day today, we have meet a couple of our school governors profiles going around the university. And I think I've never found it hard to find people who want to share their story. I normally get more stories than I have anywhere to put them. In our staff magazine last week, we featured 6 different school governors who were all involved, and they all shared their experiences. There's something so powerful in storytelling, and I think it will always be the main tool that we use. So anyone who's thinking of doing a campaign, I would really, really encourage you to reach out and find people who are already school governors to share their experiences. When we first started and there wasn't a network, I had to kind of like look under rocks and see, well, who do I know who might or might not be a school governor? And, reached out to a few colleagues who I had caught wind might have been the school governor at some point, and from there it was easy. So it didn't take too long to find 5 or 6 people willing to share their stories. But as I said, it's such a powerful way of convincing other people to get involved. And doesn't everybody love to hear from the horse's mouth? What's it really like? How do you really balance those priorities? What's marketing and what's reality? So I think it's really important to include those wherever you can.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we definitely see it, Governors for Schools, that word of mouth is the most effective way for actually getting those recruits in. So going back to the actual network itself, what was most challenging to set up that school governor network? Because we do have lots of partners that don't really have a network in place, or there might be people listening and go, well, I want that network in order to make it work. How did those challenges arise, and how were they overcome?
Yeah, so I think there were a couple of things. First of all, I should say that Governors for Schools were really, really helpful in getting that network off the ground. So reaching out to Harriet, she put me in touch with a couple of universities that had networks already, and we sort of shamelessly stole their model, which was really, really helpful. But it gave us a sense of, this is how this could work. And I think having that confidence to launch the network was the first sort of, challenge, but I think we overcome it. You worry about wasting everyone's time, and is this something people are going to use, and will it actually be of interest to people? So having the confidence to know it works elsewhere was really helpful. I think the second challenge was, and is probably just about keeping the momentum going. So we have a little team of 3 of us who sort of push it forward. And I think that's really, really helpful. And as I said before, it's really, really important that we're all school governors. You don't have to have them running your network, but I think if you're a school governor, you understand a little bit more why a network's important. So 2 of the 3 of us are school governors, but our third sort of partner in crime is not. And it's just been really, really helpful to get a sense of what's coming up, what campaigns we might be able to be involved in, what training needs are, we all experiencing, and therefore our members might be experiencing too. I think the real key to getting it right was definitely bringing our potential members forward and together, and to say, what do you want from this network? Let's have a survey, let's have a coffee, let's find out from you whether or not this is something you'd like before we launch it. So we did that, and that was really, really helpful. And then finally, we got senior buy-in. So we put together a nice paper, and we went up to the most senior people in the university and said, look, we want to launch this network. These are all the reasons why. This is what we think it's going to do. This is what we might need. And it was so well received. It's also held us accountable. So every 6 months now, I get to write a report. And I don't think you have to do that with a network, but I actually think it's tremendous every 6 months to be able to write, this is what we've achieved, this is what we're going to achieve, and this is the impact we've had. Because those check-ins for you to reflect on the difference you've made are such a confidence booster, and kind of give you the motivation for the next 6 months to try and do even more.
That's great. That's so nice to be able to take stock and go, oh, what we're doing is working, and celebrate that. And because why not, when you're doing your job well, and when things are working how you want them to work. You've been involved in quite a few other conversations with setting up networks at other universities, haven't you, Harriet? Does it tend to take this sort of model with the ones that you set up? I know like we've teed up several universities to sort of speak to each other before, haven't we? Like Josie referenced.
Yeah, definitely. I think the challenge that Josie mentioned around just having the confidence to just go for it is definitely something I've heard from a number of university partners that we either currently work with or are aiming to work with. And I think that those conversations between the universities has been really helpful. I know Josie has recently spoken to another university in the Southwest, and I think that has been fantastic for them, just to give them that confidence of, no, we can make this work. We just need to break it down into steps 1, 2, and 3 and go from there. So yeah, I think that the confidence to just go for it is a common theme. But once you go for it, people do come out of the woodwork and say, I am already a governor, I want to help you, let me be involved. And the momentum kind of starts from there. And we provide our university partners with regular reports to show the number of people that are coming through the partnership, the people that have been placed, etc. And I think that kind of really helps to continue that engagement and motivation when people start to see the results that the partnership is bringing.
I also think it's important as a university or any organisation to not try and compare your network and your success of your initiative with others. I think that it can be quite overwhelming when you look at, let's say, a long-standing partner who's contributed 10 billion hours of volunteering to school governance. I think sometimes we can lose sight of the fact that we're very, very different institutions. Our size is completely different. We might have half as many students, half as many alumni, a quarter of the number of staff, and the needs of our school governors might be different. So I think it's great to get those models, but not to say, oh, we've only recruited this many, or we've only got a network that is this small, and compare that to another institution that's completely not alike. It can be quite intimidating. So my suggestion would be, do what works for you, focus on the wins, and develop something that's going to serve your school governors as best that you can, and don't worry too much about what everyone else is doing.
I think that's a really, really nice message to end on. Any impact is the impact that we want to see, and have the confidence to go for it. From Harriet, I think, 100%. So before wrapping up today's episode, I'd like to thank Josie for joining us today, and thank the wider team at the University of Southampton for their commitment to supporting school governance. I hope that today's conversation has prompted you to consider what your organisation could be doing to support school governance. We have a range of easily accessible resources for our partners to share on our website, and I really encourage you, take a look there and see where your organisation could get started, or indeed where you could get started in submitting an application to volunteer as a school governor yourself. If you have any questions about the topics we've discussed today, please do get in touch via email. You'll likely get a response from myself or Harriet, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you've got. Thank you for listening to the Governance for Schools podcast today, and I hope we'll be in touch with you soon.